get the younger Richard by Barrett. Can't do much about that. Okay, so my name is Kieran Allen. I'm a national organiser for the People for Profit. My day job is I work in UCD teaching sociology, but my evening job is going around doing meetings like this and trying to stir up the people of this country to stand up for ourselves. So I was asked to come and, more rather than me telling people what to do, talk about and maybe have a discussion about what's happening with the water charges. So that's what I intend to do, and maybe look at some wider issues. Okay, well look, the first thing to say is that if you're a year ago, you would have thought that the Irish people were one of the quietest people in Europe. In Greece, we're supposed to have placards saying, we're Greek, we're protest, we're not like the Irish. Because, to be honest with you, for about 5 or 6 years, now when I say it came out of the blue, that's not quite true. I remember we organised a meeting with a woman from Bolivia, of all places, must have been just over a year ago now. Why did we bring over somebody from Bolivia? Because way back in the, I forget now, 2003, 2004 I think it was, there was a big upsurge of people in Bolivia against water charges, and they defeated the attempt to bring in a big American company, Bechtel, and in the end they got rid of their government as well and changed their whole country, and you now have a much better situation in Bolivia. So we brought her over to look at how you would get a campaign going. And essentially from that, there developed the Right to Water campaign, which involves really 3 sort of pillars in it, different political parties, including my own, community groups and unions. And really I think we had the biggest protest that this country has seen in decades, and it shocked the political establishment, absolutely shocked the political establishment. And let's just go back a bit and know what would happen if we hadn't done that. We hadn't come out in our streets in big numbers. At this stage, what the government had planned originally was that we would be paying about 400 or 500 euros a year for water. That was their plan. They brought in the Water Services Bill in the, I think it was September, October 2014, where they planned that if you didn't pay your 400 or 500 euros a year, they had legal provision in that bill to cut your water down to a trickle, or turn it right down, barely keep you alive in terms of water. Now what's happened since is that the huge movement of people power, because people got on the streets, it terrified the government and they have retreated. No question of that. They've cut the actual water charges, they're not going to meter your water until 2019, and they have retreated. There's no, if you don't pay, I'll just come back to this afterwards, if you do not pay the water charges, the government has no legal power to turn down your water supply or cut it down to trickle. They've given up on that. And that has happened because we stood up to them. Now it's very important to say that, because a lot of things that's gone on in Ireland, people think, sure, what can we do? There's nothing we can do. Will it ever work? That sort of attitude has been promoted, I think, quite a lot over the last few years. And there are a few times when you do manage to push governments back. And this was one of them when we pushed them back. Now, when I say they've pushed them back, it doesn't mean they've actually given up the fight. And just to go over the factual situation, where we're at the moment is that from the 1st of April, bills are going to arrive in your door to say that you owe Irish Water money for the water you've been using since the 1st of January. Those bills are capped at 260 euros a year if there's more than one person in your family, 160 if there's just one of you in the family. When we say they're capped, it means they can't charge you more than 260 until the 1st of January 2019. So anybody tempted to say, well, you know, I want to get that, come back to this conservation grant, just remember, as soon as you're hooked, you're in there for the rest of your life, and after 2019, the charges are going to rise dramatically because there's no cap. It's going to go on the basis of the metering. Okay, what are you going to do about metering? Right, they're going to give you a conservation grant. Now they say they're giving you a conservation grant. They're giving you back your own money. You're going into them, if you're foolish enough, in April, giving them 260 euro, and they're giving you back 100 euro in September. That's all that's happening. You're not getting anything. You're just getting your own money back. And you're doing that for a period just to soften you up and get you used to paying Irish Water. Now, one of the things people haven't noticed, in the original scheme, you were supposed to get 30,000 litres of water free. An average house will use about 120, 140,000 litres of, well, it varies obviously depending on the house, but you'll certainly use over more than 100,000 litres of water. They were originally going to give you 30,000 litres of water for free, and then allowances for under 18s and so on. That 30,000 allowance is gone. You're not getting that anymore, and you won't be getting that after 2019. And therefore, one estimate of the charges after 2019, we've got a long way to go before that, is that if you are a household with 2 people, and you've got medium usage of water, medium usage they reckon is just over 100,000, right, litres of water, you're going to be paying 420 from 2019 onwards. And after that, it'll go up. Okay? So let's just be clear about it then. So, what we have at the moment is a government that's retreated, and they're going softly, just to get you to pay. They want you to get you to pay. Once you register, you're in there for life, and after 2019, they are going to hit you hard and come after you for these sort of payments. Now, what are we going to do about all of this? And the first thing I want to say is that over the last few months, there has been a concerted attempt to divide, demoralise and defeat us. And the whole of the, not the whole of the media, but a lot of the media, and unfortunately the Gardaí, have also been used in this process. Just look what happened in Edenmore. Decent, working class people in the north side of Dublin decided we do not want a meter, right? We don't want the meter here, and we don't want you making us a customer. And they've said, you know, if I'm buying a television set or wherever I'm buying something, people can't force me to be a customer. I have to do it voluntarily. So they decided to protest. Now, 5 of those people were locked up in jail, and all sorts of hullabaloo, and people can discuss it if you want, about what happened in Jobestown. But you should be aware, Jobestown is one of the poorest areas of Dublin, awfully poor area of Dublin, where people have been really hit by social welfare cuts in particular. To bring Joan Burton into that area was like putting, if you like, a red rag to a bull, and people sat down in front of her car, and so on. The media went into a frenzy about how terrible these people were. Now, in the same week that the 5 people were jailed for protesting about meters, it was revealed that a number of the wealthiest people in Ireland have 3 billion illegally stashed away in a Swiss bank account to avoid paying taxes. None of those people were visited by inspectors of the Gardaí, like some 16-year-olds were done in Jobestown. So this is what's been going on. And then once that happens, a media owned by a person who has a direct interest in installing meters, namely Dennis O'Brien, went into complete overdrive. Now, I'm sorry, if you read the Irish Independent, the Evening Herald, the Sunday World, if you listen to News Talk or Today FM, they're all owned by one man. One man owns this stuff, right? And then a lot of the provincial papers, I don't know what the different papers are here, but he owns a lot of these papers. Now, his newspapers set out to demonise the protesters. That's what's been happening over the last period. And you'll find anybody from the water charges movement comes on, you're asked all sorts of questions. Are you promoting violence? Are you part of a sinister fringe and all this? This is a familiar thing that happens in Ireland. Trying to separate out the bad protester from the good protester. Trying to get decent, ordinary people frightened so people do not come out on the streets. And I want to say that I don't think it's going to work. It's not going to work because on the 21st of March, on Saturday week, there is going to be an enormous national demonstration in Dublin where there will be tens of thousands of people. And the more people are there, the more I think we'll find that the government will get the message that it's not going to be able to carry through with Irish water. And therefore, one of the things I hope we discuss in this meeting is getting a bus or transport down to Dublin. 1 o'clock is assembling at 3 different points. The leaflet's there to explain it, to a major demonstration in Dublin to show that the people are still united in wanting to abolish water charges completely. Now, the last few points I want to make is this. What do we do after the 21st of March? And here is really a crucial period for the campaign, because what we have to do is go on to an organised boycott campaign. The word boycott was invented in Mayo by Michael Davitt as part of the Land League. A man called Captain Boycott was giving the people a lot of trouble. And the word boycott came into the English language because of that. Now we need a boycott of Irish water, and I'm going to tell you why we need a boycott. First of all, if we do not have a boycott, they will get us hooked on water charges, and at some point, notice they give you a conservation grant of €100, they will withdraw that conservation grant. Your charge will go up immediately. How might that happen? They could say, well, the next government didn't agree to the conservation grant, so we have to take it away from you. Or more likely, what they will say is, under EU rules, this has to be self-funding. There's all sorts of EU rules about off-balance sheet payments and this, that and the other. They'll say the government can't put money into it, and therefore the government's not allowed to give you the conservation grant. So we have to explain to people, you should really boycott Irish water now to stop them rising the prices in the future. And broadly speaking, what's happening around the country is that people are going door to door with, if you like, well, first of all, having meetings in local areas, not just, if you like, I don't know how Castleblayney's are, but in different estates. Say, I'm just use Dublin examples, if you don't mind for a minute. In the estates in Dublin, so you take Tallaght or Clondalkin, there has been over the last week, there has been what we call 4 street meetings in Clondalkin, Dublin. Anybody familiar with the area? It's a big number of housing estates. In each housing estate there'll be a street meeting. You get 40 or 50 people out to it. People will decide then, what are we going to do about water charges? We're not going to pay the water charges. And then people are organised to get the message around the place to say we shouldn't boycott the charges. And one of the crucial things people are doing is putting up window posters saying we're not paying the water charges, we're sticking together, and we are going to defeat Irish water. Now, sometimes people think that's a radical step, and maybe it is, but sometimes it's necessary to do these things. But let me just spell out the consequences, so we're all honest with each other, of a boycott campaign. If you boycott Irish water, what can happen to you? Okay, what can happen to you is your water will not be turned off. They can't do that. The only thing they can do is they can, in a year's time, after some maybe April or even summer 2016, nothing's going to happen before 2016. They will enforce a late payment on you, and the late payment is €30 for a single person and €60 for if there's more than one person in the house. That's the consequence. Now look, let's be simple about this. Isn't it worth standing together if the only fine is €30 and €60? And remember, by 2016, this lot are gone as a government. So why would you be so silly as to pay the water charge, right? To put it very simply, right? So this is the message we have to get out because the media are not helping us. So if we can organise ourselves to go around houses and to get people to boycott Irish water will be finished. And I'll tell you why it will be finished. Because they need to have a payment rate of around 70%. To get through EU rules, they have to show that 70% of the people are paying the water charges, and therefore if even a substantial minority say we're not paying, Irish water's gone. Okay? And that's going to be a huge victory.
That's an awful waste of 500. That's an awful waste of 530 million.
Absolutely, of course it is. Yeah.
Like whose head's going to roll for that waste? Like
whose head's going to roll? Well, this is Ireland. By the way, just quickly on that, just to relay the story of Dublin. You know who's head of Irish Water is a man called John Tierney. John Tierney used to be the man who ran Dublin City Council. He wasted already 100 million trying to get an incinerator that nobody wants in Dublin. He paid out 28 million. 28 million he paid out for consultants. So this man has formed. This is what's going on in this country, right?
What about the machines for the elections, you know?
And the machines for the elections and all of that, right? Absolutely. Right, look, let me just finish on that on a more general point, then I'll sit down and listen to the discussion. Look, what is all this about? And what it's all about, we all know what's behind this, which is that the people of Ireland were made to pay for the debt of people like Shawnee Fitzpatrick, the bankers, and so on. That's what all this is about, right? Now, I always make this point, right? If I go to a bookie shop and back the horses and I lose, I can't ring up to the Department of Finance and say, can I please have a bailout? But if I'm a banker, right, that's what they were doing. They were doing nothing better than gambling. If I'm a banker and I'm gambling on taking in money and giving it out and so on, you shouldn't have to make the Irish people pay for that. But the truth is, we are being asked, not just the banker's debt, but the economic crisis that follows it. The banker's debt is around 65 billion. We are going to have to pay 8 billion a year until 2053. Now I just want to think about that. 8 billion is the size of is the amount of money we spend in education. Primary schools, secondary schools, and universities. 8 billion. We're going to keep on paying that until 2053. That's what it's about. That's what all this is about. Therefore, what have they decided to do? They're not going to squeeze at Dennis O'Brien's. They're going to get it from middle and lower income Ireland. So you'll notice your taxes have gone up if you're working. Your social welfare has gone down. You've been hit by carbon taxes, universal social charge, the property tax. Now all you're doing is contributing to the pockets of bondholders, right? Not for the good of the people here. I just want you to remember the name of one bondholder. When you say bondholder, you don't even know. I never heard the word bondholder before 2008. What's a bondholder? Well, I'll give you an example. There's a fellow called Michael Hassenstab, who is a young man in California. I think he's aged about 38. He has made, in the last 2 years, 2 billion from the generosity of the Irish people. We keep paying him the money, sending the money out to him. Because he bought our bonds up in, I think it was 2010. They've gone up in price, he sold them off, 2 billion. So the question is, why are we paying people like him rather than looking after our hospitals, our schools, and so on? So the only thing I agree with Enda Kenny on is, he says, this is no longer just about water, it's about more than water. It's about changing what's going on in this country, basically. And I think that we have to do something about not paying this debt. We see in the case of Greece, where you elect a government and you go nicely over to the EU and say to them, would you please write down the debt? They basically turn the screws on you and say, you behave yourself and do what we tell you. I think the lesson I draw from that is we should talk to them nicely, but at some point we should say to them, I'm sorry, there's a government elected in this country and we're answerable to the people of Ireland and we are no longer paying off this debt. Full stop, right? It's as simple as that. Maybe it's not as simple as that, but we have to take that attitude anyway. I think that we need to shift the burden of taxation onto those who are well able to afford to pay. When people ask you where you're going to pay for your water, well, actually, we pay already in taxes 1.2 billion to fund the water services. If we need more money, there are wealthy people in this country who can well afford to pay a little bit of extra tax rather than people on the bottom of the scale. Dennis O'Brien, for example, the famous Dennis O'Brien, who owns all our media, is a tax exile. That means he leaves Ireland, he stays out of Ireland 163 days of the year, and because he does that, he doesn't have to pay taxes here. Now, how do you know he's out of the country 163 days a year? You don't, because he comes in and out of his private plane and nobody checks his private planes. Okay? That's the sort of nonsense we're having in this country. So we should be making people like him pay for their taxes. We should stop the ridiculous situation where if you're a foreign executive, this is true, I'm not making this up, you're a foreign executive and you decide to send your child to a private school, fees at least 5,000 a year, you get a tax break for that. Not many people know that. Check it out. Or a new situation that's developing where in America you have real estate investment trusts. These are big, if you like, companies that will buy up blocks of apartments. There's an apartment block in Cork known as the Elysian Fields, big tower block of apartments. A real investment trust comes in and buys them up, and we, the Irish people, give them a tax break. We're giving a tax break for vulture capitalists to come and buy up property. Okay? So we have to stop all this stuff and get people to understand that it's the elite who should be paying the taxes. So, in brief, I think that, just to summarise, I think what we have to do is get out on the 21st of March in as big numbers as possible, follow it up by a boycott, and then let's start doing something to change the political landscape here, and bring about something that is fit for people rather than what we're getting at the moment, which is just nonsense that pretends to support the elite. Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. So we kind of have to organise what we do next. 21st is coming soon. We've a load of leaflets here. I got 600 of them in Dublin, and there's more here. We can organise it among us to get most houses in Blayney leafleted. We can do that, simple thing. Garrett has mentioned a bus,
yeah,
and
we for the provisionally, but we just need secure numbers and things.
Secure numbers. So if we could get like 30 to 40 people.